Hello, my name is Darya Johnson Marshall, and I am presenting my game design pitch for College Simulator, which is a 2D mobile survival life sim that tries to simulate the college experience in the form of productivity apps. The concept is survive 2 years of college in the survival life sim. Balance your limited energy and your mental and physical health on your path to graduation. Raise your skills by studying and completing assignments, and pass to unlock new skills and classes. Work to earn money for your daily living and buy items to keep your health to help your health. Talk to friends to promote your health and make choices that matter. Perform extra activities to balance your health and energy as well. It's 2D mobile, limited life sim. It is limited because it focuses on just the concept of college with the accessory of work and school or social relationships. The mood is strategic, the pace is slow to medium. You could go at your own pace, but you are limited by timers, and the target is teens and up, so 13 to 25. Three W's. What? The player will navigate between several screens using touch controls and select actions using touch. Tasks are timed events for school and work that provide rewards to the player at the cost of one or more of their key stat components. Interactions with friends include tapping through incoming dialogue and selecting input choices when prompted. Interactions outside of work and school include sleeping, using items, buying items at the shop, and other activities that affect the player's health and energy. Why? The player spends their energy to complete actions that maintain their health and increases their school completion rate. Completing tasks for classes increases the player's total completion rate of college. Talking to friends is a way to maintain mental health. Using items that can be purchased is another way to maintain both mental and physical health. Completing tasks for classes or work negatively affects health and energy. Completing a class will positively affect health and total energy limit. Completing tasks for work negatively affects physical health. Health is easier to diminish than replenish, and losing all mental or physical health will end the game. The game takes place in the form of several apps: school app, work app, social app, and personal app. The social the school app is designed like a school online system that presents a list of classes. Tasks are completed within classes. The work app is designed similarly to the school's class page as a to-do list of tasks. The social app is designed like a chat messaging app with multiple contacts and chats listed. NPC responses populate on the left of the chat screen, and the player's responses, automatic or selected, input on the right side. All chat history is saved. The personal app is designed like a mobile Kanban board, something like Trello or Asana, and provides settings, a shop to acquire items, an inventory to use items, and personal activities like sleeping, eating, exercising, and journaling, along with other ones that can be unlocked later. Random scenarios appear as full screen notifications that may or may not be interactable, in which they would provide choices or player input. The core mechanics are that there's a limited amount of energy per day, and energy is needed for every action. Actions primarily affect health, energy, and or money. To win, the game ends if the player completes all classes, which right now I have set to 24. To lose, the game ends if mental health or physical health reaches 0. Mental health, or MH, is a stress indicator affected by school tasks and social interactions. Physical health, or PH, is a wellness indicator affected by well being and working. Money is earned from working and can be used to acquire useful items. Mental health decreases when performing school tasks and after negative social interactions. Mental health increases after class completions and positive social interactions. Physical health increases or decreases based on work, item use, and activities. Random scenarios may pop up that affect these stats. The core dynamics of this game are to complete tasks for classes in order to earn grades or scores, which are then averaged out for a larger GPA. Complete all tasks for a class to complete it, and complete all classes to win the game. Keep mental and physical health above 0. Use the school app to complete tasks for classes. Use the work app to earn money for daily expenses and items needed for basic needs. Use social app to improve mental health and character relationships. Use the personal app to improve physical needs or your physical health. Consume or use items to improve health needs. Balance tasks, health, and energy. Keep money, health, and energy balanced in preparation for random scenarios, which could suddenly tank your primary scores. The inspiration for this game comes from The Sims, as well as some mobile life simulator games like BitLife and AltLife that have a interesting interface and 2D approach to doing a life simulation game, especially in a realistic way. I will not read all of the risks, but the primary concerns that I have for designing this game are UI UX based, which primarily comes down to a lot of nested interfaces, multiple screens, and mobile app design, as well as the writing that will be necessary for this game, including writing tasks for like the work app and the school app, writing several different characters, their chat messages, and choice options, and then random scenarios that could affect player input options and the game variables. Um, an additional risk is that I want the random scenarios to pop up like notifications at random intervals while playing the game, and then balancing that so that they do not interrupt what the player is like actively doing. Um, yeah. Risk mitigation largely comes down to a lot of planning through flowcharts, paper designs, Word documents, and like wireframing. So I plan on doing a lot of paper designs, a lot of prototype designs, using documents to plan classes, skills, the different actions and activities, the characters, chat messages, responses, and effects, and as well as the work tasks, as I imagine work tasks to be like your first one would be like newspaper delivery, pays X amount or whatever, but then you can unlock additional things so that you can get higher pay for different levels of tasks with different energy costs over time. And so planning that will largely comes down to just using the tools that I have available to map out what all those things look like and then start to balance them through a spreadsheet later on. So, gameplay, as far as the core gameplay loop, I intend to design this as a very cyclical application game. So, you have a starting screen, you start at the school app menu, but from the school app menu, you'll be able to navigate to any of the other 3 apps, whether it's the personal app, the work app, or the social app. Um, all the apps will have the same level of connectivity, and even if you're on a different page on either the school app or the personal app, which you can scroll horizontally rather than vertically, you'll still be able to navigate to the other apps very seamlessly through the buttons that will be at the bottom of the screen at all times. So, a task is something that affects player stats, and is used to advance the story. We control it by player touch. Some properties, general properties of tasks are that they have durations, energy costs, MH costs, pH costs, and they have rewards. School tasks will have a status. Um, Normal tasks are tasks that you complete one time, so they will have skill requirements and task scores for when it is finished. And special tasks are like study tasks, so they advance certain skills and you can continue to complete them again and again in order to qualify for those like assignment tasks. Work tasks also have status, and like availability, so whether it's something that's been unlocked or not unlocked. They have an energy cost, an MH cost, and a pH cost, as well as a money reward. Player stats are energy, mental health, physical health, daily expenses, money, and like relationship levels, the characters as well as those levels. And the inventory contains all the different items that the player can use currently. Relationships are composed of the status of that character, the character's like name, and the relationship level, as well as like chat history. Items are contain a name, a value, a quantity, and the effects of that item. For research questions, I have several test like a user stories for the player, such as I want to reach graduation by completing every class. I want to pass classes by completing all the tasks. Fun and engaging tasks, balancing the needs of my agent, not running out of health and losing the game, feeling challenged by the limited resources, not wanting to repeat boring tasks, making sure that choices matter, feeling immersed in the agent's experience, progressing the game and enjoying new content over time, and the app experiences to feel both realistic and gamified. As far as testing these research questions, I have some method and prototype ideas, which is planning gameplay routes, planning classes, tasks, actions, gameplay variables and states, player inputs and outputs, the depreciation loop between energy and health, the balance rather of energy, health, money, and actions. Um, the outputs of player choices in task chats, random scenarios, how engaging and connected the gameplay experience is, story progression, and UI UX. So the next couple of slides just talk about some of the researching and thoughts that I put into this. So I first started from a life sim base where I looked at life sim mechanics, which mostly focus on risk and reward, resource management, and role playing. And so I kind of broke down the different elements that I would need to be conscious of in order to make it feel like a life sim mechanic or life sim game rather by implementing these types of mechanics like user challenges, tension, choices, rules, how the actors and agents interact and what their characteristics are, as well as the environment. As far as class flow and unlocking, I'm going to build out a similar flow chart as seen on the left, where you start out with maybe 3 classes, and then completing one class might branch into the availability of 2 extra classes. And so everything is going to have like a branching structure, and not everything will be available at once. Research on game actions. I have a Google Sheets spreadsheet where I went and played a bunch of different games, from Sims to PewDiePie's Tuber Simulator to BitLife, Alt Life, Another Life, just to see what the different actions and mechanics those games used and the types of player interactions that those games used, as far as whether they are clicking, multi-tapping, scrolling, etc. So I studied a bunch of those different games. So for my first prototype, I started physically with a data interaction outline, where I just kind of drew out what are the different pages that the player is going to see and going to interact with, and for each of those pages, what data is relevant and going to be displayed and used to make choices with, and what elements on that page are the player actually interacting with, like what are they clicking, tapping, scrolling, etc. um and I also listed like what the global variables are, which will basically be not only relevant on every page, but some of them will be available to see on every page. Because this is so light, I went ahead and broke it down some more. So there are 4 main pages and then 2 sub pages for the home and the for the school app and the social app. And so I have them broken down into 1A, 2, 3, 3A, and 4 for 6 total pages. The global variables are the max MH and pH and energy that the player has, that they can't go above without like it upgrading. and their current level that they have to maintain above zero or replenish in the case of like all of them, but also energy specifically every day. And day is like just a counter just to see how long does it take for you to do XYZ, pass the not only the classes but complete the game. For one, the primary pieces of data would be classes to graduate, GPA, a list of all of the classes, and each of the class will have the same structure as far as having score, availability, and a name. The primary interaction on that page, outside of clicking on the buttons that are always available at the bottom to change to different apps, is that you can click on the classes to touch, select, and open. You can also scroll on this page as well in order to see the different options that are available. For 1A, which is the class page, if you click on a class in 1, then you go to 1A and it lists the class name, the current score, which is just an average of what has been scored so far, a list of skills that will be in icon format and will contain a name and a value as well as an icon as well. It'll also contain a list of tasks, which are buttons that can be tapped on. They contain a name, a duration, elapsed time for when they're activated, a type as far as whether it's a study type, which can be repeated again and again to increase skills, or a graded like assignment type, which provides a score that goes towards class completion. The status is just to check like the what is happening with that task, whether it's not started, in progress, complete, or locked, unavailable to even do. Skills affected just means what skills are required to do this task or what skills are being incremented when this task is complete. As far as what skills are required to do it, that'll also include the level that the skill needs to be at in order to do it. So if it's like a art skill, if a task needs the art skill, then the art skill might need to be 15 or higher in order to like qualify to do it. Lastly, the task will have an energy cost, which is how much it costs to do that in energy, and the MH cost. Bum, bum, bum. Interaction. The player will interact with the task to touch and to select and activate. The screen scrolling to view more. The screen sliding in a horizontal fashion to go back to 1, the home page, and a button that you can touch to go back to 1. 2 is the work at page. The primary pieces of data on this page are available income and daily expenses. Daily expenses are deducted at the start of every new day. So after the player sleeps, their daily expenses are deducted from their available income. And so they have the whole day in order to earn income back again. It also contains a list of tasks, and each of those tasks has the following properties: name, duration, elapsed time, counter, a status, an energy cost, a pH cost, and pay. The player will primarily interact with the task, touch to select, and the screen scrolling to view all of the different available tasks that they can do. 3 is the social app homepage. So it just lists all of the characters. Each of those characters has a name, a relationship level, and a status that is available to see on that screen. And they can either be an unlocked character that you were actively talking to or can start talking to, or a locked character that we have to meet through another interaction. The player will primarily interact with the characters by touching on their character name to open their chat, as well as sliding or scrolling rather in order to view the list of characters that are available. 3A is the chat page. So when you click on a character, you open up their chat history. That page displays their name, the relationship level, the list of messages sent in that chat. The messages contain a from, whether it's the character or the player, content, which is what is the text being sent out, the type, whether it's a normal type or a special type, and a special type is player selection. So there will be a certain number of inputs that the player can select from. Each of those inputs has an output that the character will respond with, and that output also has designated values for how it affects the player scores. Um, and messages also have a minimum relationship level. So while there is a daily limit for how many times the player can interact with the character per day, they can also be stopped if the next message doesn't have like a high enough relationship level. And so it'll use a different message or any message that like um will advance the story, but does not is within the range of where they currently are with that relationship. Interactions are touching the screen to make a selection, and touching the screen to continue when there is no selection, as well as scrolling to view more and sliding to go back. The last is the personal app page, which is set up like a Kanban board. You scroll it horizontally rather than vertically, although you scroll the lists, activities, inventory, shop, and settings, you scroll those vertically. So activities are a list of options that the player can do, like sleeping, eating, drinking, journaling, exercising, etc., that can affect player stats, those global variables. Um, they have costs and benefits, and then some of them might require an item or they might not require an item. Inventory items primarily have like a name, a value, and like the quantity of it. And so inventory will readily display how many items is available if there's at least one available, and the shop will show what the value is in money in order to acquire that item. Lastly, the last list is settings. It'll contain the day counter, a Boolean button like a toggle switch for sound effects as well as music, and a expandable and collapsible credit section that can be scrolled to view the list of contributors. And so primarily works with touching to select, and scrolling to view more. Prototype 2 was another physical, the UX outline for the game. So you can see this is like the school app, this is the work app, social app, and the personal app, which you scroll vertically. And so there's more content this way, or horizontally. So there's more content this way. Gameplay loop. The primary elements are a section up top for the game name as well as the app name, the actual application and the task and activities and that layout that appears here. 4 is where the player stats will show up. 5, 6, 7, and 8 are buttons for each of the 4 app pages. So 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 5, 6, 7, 8 are static, being that that information doesn't really change. The information for the location of 4 remains the same, but it's always going to be the same stats, and then it'll just oscillate between the values of those stats. And 2 changes not in position, but in the name of the app. So whichever one is active at the moment, it'll show up the top. The app field is mostly going to contain text icons or text fields, icon fields, and scroll rect fields that will allow the player to scroll through the different objects and tasks. 4 is, of course, the player stats. So mental health, physical health, energy. I'm going to do some tests to see if I want to add money and day counters there as well. And mental health, physical health, and energy are going to be tracked using bars that track the max and the current level. For prototype 3, the digital UX outline, I've created a PowerPoint to kind of show a blocking of what that visual format would look like. So the PowerPoint is used to plan the design, accessibility, interactivity of the game, and the game is designed to resemble the various productivity apps like Kanban boards and chats and lists. Um, and so far, the UX is equally designed for left-hand and right-hand users. So I am trying to keep track of like the accessibility and just making sure I keep that in mind as far as like mobile app and mobile game practices. For next steps, I'm going to follow up on the following research questions. So as a player, I want to balance the needs of my agent, I'm going to start testing all the game variables and compare their relationships to one another and their growth and depletion rates. Next is, as a player, I want my choices to matter. That is going to be a test of the strengths of various game choices, as well as I'm going to begin planning the various classes, skills, tasks, jobs, characters, and chats in the game. So that's going to involve planning a list of each of these things. As far as prototypes, for game actions, I've concluded that the primary game actions will be tapping, touch, click, and scrolling, which includes sliding. Next, I want to focus on how many game actions can occur during an average beat. So, given a single day and a limited amount of energy, how many school tasks is the player able to do? How many work tasks? How many additional activities will they be able to do before they run out of energy and have to start a new day, or before they have to stop because they'll run out of mental health or physical health if they don't, etc. Um, the next one is super huge, which is UI UX. So since I've built out like a blocking of how I want it to be set up, next is to focus on determining the shapes, color palettes, styles, and iconography and graphics that I want to use in the game. So that is my presentation for College Simulator, the 2D life sim, limited life survival sim. This is where you can find me. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.